She thought about New Haven, about Jake Morrison's desperate final transmission, about Pete Henderson's family hiding in their storm shelter while aliens hunted them, about Dr. Kate Sullivan trying to protect wounded patients before being murdered, about 50,000 human civilians who had died for no reason except alien arrogance and hatred. "Fire!" she ordered. The stellar collapse device launched from the Prometheus like a silver arrow. It flew toward Vega at tremendous speed, its quantum field generators preparing to interfere with stellar fusion. "All ships, withdraw to minimum. Safe distance," Admiral Kane commanded. "Full retreat. Maximum speed." The human fleet turned and ran from the Vega system as fast as their engines could carry them. Behind them, the small device reached the star and began its deadly work. Vega was a main sequence star, burning hydrogen into helium in its core for billions of years. The device disrupted that process, causing the fusion reaction to become unstable. The star began to collapse. On the Zephyrian worlds below, scientists detected the stellar anomaly too late. Emergency sirens wailed across 8 billion people as they realized what was happening. Then Vega exploded. The star became a supernova, releasing more energy in seconds than it had produced in millions of years. The expanding fireball consumed everything within 10 billion kilometers. Planets, space stations, asteroid mines, and 8 billion Zephyrian lives vanished in stellar fire. The human fleet watched from 30 light hours away as their sensors recorded the destruction. A new star blazed in space where Vega had been, visible from hundreds of light years away. "It's done," Dr. Foster said quietly. "The entire system is gone." Admiral Kane stared at the expanding nova on her screens. She felt no joy, no satisfaction, only a terrible sense of completion. Justice had been served, but the price was an entire civilization. "Record a message for broadcast throughout the galaxy," she ordered. "All frequencies, all languages we know." The communications officer nodded. "Ready to record, Admiral." Admiral Kane stood before the camera and spoke words that would echo across the stars for generations. "This is Admiral Patricia Kane of the United Terran Federation. 6 months ago, an alien species called the Zephyrians made contact with humanity. They claimed they wanted peace and cooperation. Instead, they committed genocide against our civilian colony at New Haven. 50,000 innocent humans were murdered in their sleep. Men, women, children, elderly, sick, wounded. The aliens showed no mercy to anyone. When we demanded justice, they chose total war instead of accountability. The Vega system has been eliminated as a consequence of their choice. 8 billion Zephyrians are dead. Their worlds are gone. Their civilization is extinct. Let this serve notice to all species throughout the galaxy. Humanity seeks peace with all intelligent beings. We will trade fairly, negotiate honestly, and defend those who cannot defend themselves. We offer friendship to any species willing to accept it. But if you choose to make war upon human civilians, if you choose genocide against our people, if you choose to murder our children, then know this: we will not simply defeat you. We will not merely conquer your worlds. We will erase you from existence. The Federation welcomes all peaceful species to join us in exploring the wonders of the galaxy. We also stand ready to defend humanity with weapons that can extinguish stars. Choose your path accordingly." The transmission ended. Copies of the message began spreading throughout known space, carried by trade ships and exploration vessels. The galaxy would learn that humanity had arrived as a major power. Jake Morrison watched the Admiral's speech from his new home on Earth. The New Haven survivors had been given housing, jobs, and support to rebuild their lives. But they would never forget their lost world or their murdered friends. "Is it over?" Pete Henderson asked. He sat with his wife Lisa and their children, watching the news coverage of Vega's destruction. "It's over," Jake confirmed. "They're all dead. Every single one of them." Lisa Henderson held her baby son closer. Amy and Beth had started speaking again, but they still had nightmares about the aliens. They always would. "Was it right?" Lisa asked quietly. "All those billions of people?" Jake thought about that question for a long time. They could have surrendered. They could have given us the war criminals and made peace. They chose to fight to the death instead. But still, Lisa, I watched aliens murder children in cold blood. I saw them execute wounded people who couldn't fight back. They called us animals and said we deserved to die for the crime of existing. Jake's voice hardened. If it had been their choice, every human in the galaxy would be dead right now. On her flagship returning to Earth, Admiral Kane stood in her private cabin and stared out at the stars. Somewhere out there, other alien species were receiving humanity's message. Some would choose friendship. Others might choose war. She hoped for friendship. But if they chose war, humanity was ready. The galaxy had learned that humans were no longer just explorers and colonists. They were a species that could destroy entire star systems to protect their own. The age of human expansion had begun, written in the light of an extinguished star, and in that light, every species in the galaxy would learn to respect the simple, farmers and teachers and children who had died at New Haven Colony. They would learn that humanity never forgets, and humanity never forgives genocide. The human fleet emerged from hyperspace at the edge of the Vega system. Admiral Patricia Kane stared at her tactical displays in amazement. The Zephyrians had gathered everything they had. Over 300 alien warships hung in formation around their home worlds. Space stations bristled with weapons. Orbital defense platforms covered the planets like deadly shells. 8 billion Zephyrians waited on the worlds below. They've committed their entire civilization to this battle, Captain Susan Wright observed. From the TFS Vengeance, Admiral Kane opened communications to the entire Zephyrian fleet. Warcast leader Siska Thrax appeared on her screen, his scaled face twisted with hatred. "Mammals," he hissed. "You have come far from your nest to die." I'm Admiral Patricia Kane. This is your final opportunity to surrender. Hand over everyone responsible for the New Haven massacre, and your people can survive. Continue this war, and you will face total annihilation. Iskathrax laughed, a harsh sound like breaking glass. "We are Zephyrians. We have conquered 100 worlds. We do not bow to inferior species." "Those conquered worlds never fought back," Admiral Kane replied calmly. "We do." The alien commander's eyes narrowed. "You have fought our border forces and weak garrison fleets. Now you face the full might of the Zephyrian war machine. Prepare to join your colonist friends in death." The communication ended. Iskathrax had made his choice. "All ships," Admiral Kane announced to her fleet. "The enemy has refused surrender. They have chosen to protect war criminals rather than seek peace. Begin the attack." The largest space battle in galactic history began with a thunderous exchange of fire. 300 Zephyrian ships opened fire simultaneously, filling space with plasma beams and missile trails. The human fleet's energy shields flared bright as they absorbed the alien barrage. Some ships rocked under the assault, but none were seriously damaged. "Return fire," Admiral Kane commanded. The human response was devastating. Advanced targeting computers identified the most dangerous enemy ships first. Plasma cannons that had been perfected through centuries of warfare tore through Zephyrian armor. Quantum torpedoes detonated inside enemy hulls, causing catastrophic explosions. Captain Neil Phillips watched from the TFS Retribution as his guns found their targets. "Enemy flagship taking heavy damage," he reported. "Their shields are failing." The battle was fierce but brief. Zephyrian ships exploded in brilliant flashes of light. Their weapons could barely scratch human shields, while every human shot found its mark. The alien formation began to collapse as their command ships were destroyed. Iskathrax watched his fleet die around him. In 30 minutes, he had lost over half his ships. The humans were cutting through his forces like they were made of paper. "How?" he demanded of his tactical officer. "Their ships are the same size as ours. How can they be so much more powerful?" "Their technology is far beyond ours," Warcast leader. "Our weapons are primitive compared to theirs." For the first time in his life, Iskathrax felt true fear. These humans were not the weak prey animals he had expected. They were apex predators, and his people were about to become extinct. "All ships ramming speed," he ordered desperately. "If we cannot outfight them, we will die with honor." The remaining Zephyrian ships abandoned tactics and charged straight at the human fleet. Some tried to ram the human vessels, hoping to damage them through suicide attacks. It did not work. Human point defense systems destroyed the attacking ships, long before they could make contact. The few that got close found their hulls cracking against advanced human armor. General Marcus Stone watched the battle from his transport ship. Admiral, the enemy fleet is broken. Should we prepare boarding parties to capture survivors? Admiral Kane looked at the tactical display. Fewer than 50 Zephyrian ships remained functional, and they were all damaged. The orbital defenses had been silenced. The space stations were burning wrecks. "Broadcast a surrender demand," she ordered. The message went out on all frequencies. "Zephyrian forces, this is Admiral Kane. Your fleet is destroyed. Your defenses are gone. Surrender now, and your people will be spared." Escathrax's reply came from his crippled flagship. "We will never surrender to mammals. If we are to die, we will die as warriors." The remaining alien ships resumed their doomed attack. Captain Susan Wright destroyed 3 more vessels with precise shots. Captain Phillips eliminated 2 others. Within minutes, only Escathrax's flagship remained. "Disable their engines, Admiral," Kane ordered. "I want him alive." The TFS Justice fired carefully aimed shots that knocked out the alien flagship's propulsion systems. The great ship drifted helplessly in space, leaking atmosphere from multiple hull breaches. "SSK Thrax, Admiral," Kane said over the communications link. "You are beaten. Your fleet is gone. Your people are defenseless. This is your last chance to prevent a complete massacre." The alien commander appeared on screen, bleeding from several wounds. Behind him, his bridge was on fire and filled with smoke. "You want us to beg for mercy like the soft mammals we killed at your colony?" he snarled. "I want you to think about your 8 billion people on the planets below. They had nothing to do with New Haven. They don't deserve to die for your crimes." Scathrax looked at his ruined ship, his dead crew, his burning bridge. "What are your terms? Surrender yourself and everyone who participated in the New Haven attack. Accept Federation oversight of your military. Pay compensation to the families of your victims. Do this, and your civilization survives." For a moment, Admiral Kane thought the alien commander might accept. Then Scathrax's expression hardened with fanatic resolve. "Never. We are the supreme species in this galaxy. We will not be ruled by prey animals. If you want our worlds, you will have to take them over our dead bodies." He cut the transmission and activated his ship's self-destruct system. The Zephyrian flagship exploded in a final burst of defiance. Admiral Kane closed her eyes. The aliens had chosen extinction over justice. There would be no surrender, no trials, no peaceful resolution. "Dr. Foster," she said into her communicator, "prepare the stellar collapse device." On the experimental ship TFS Prometheus, Dr. Alan Foster's hands shook as he armed humanity's most terrible weapon. He had spent 30 years developing this technology, hoping it would never be used. "Admiral, are you certain about this? There are 8 billion Zephyrians on those planets. Many of them are civilians. They had the chance to surrender, Admiral," Kane replied. "Their leaders chose genocide over justice. Now they face the consequences." Dr. Foster entered the activation codes. The device hummed to life, its quantum processors calculating the precise frequency needed to disrupt Vega's fusion process. "Weapon ready," he reported. Admiral Kane looked at the Zephyrian homeworlds on her display, green and blue planets where billions of aliens lived and worked and raised their families. In a few minutes, they would all be dead. The human fleet reached Zephyrian space 6 months after leaving Earth. Admiral Patricia Kane stood on the bridge of the TFS Justice and studied the star maps. The Zephyrians controlled 12 star systems with over 30 inhabited worlds. "Admiral, we're detecting enemy ships," reported Captain Susan Wright from the TFS Vengeance. 3 Zephyrian cruisers are moving to intercept us. "Open communications," Admiral Kane ordered. The main screen flickered to life, showing the scaled face of a Zephyrian commander. Its eyes were cold and yellow, like a snake's. "Human vessels, you are trespassing in Zephyrian territory. Leave immediately, or face destruction." Admiral Kane stepped forward. "I am Admiral Patricia Kane of the United Terran Federation. We are here seeking justice for the massacre at New Haven Colony. Surrender the commanders responsible for that attack, and we can resolve this peacefully." The alien commander made a sound that might have been laughter. "The pest control operation was successful. Your inferior species learned its place. You will withdraw, or we will teach you the same lesson." Admiral Kane's expression hardened. "Final warning. Surrender those responsible for genocide, or face the consequences." "We do not surrender to mammals," the Zephyrian commander replied. The alien ships opened fire first. Their plasma weapons struck the human fleet's energy shields, causing bright flashes across space. But the human shields held easily. "All ships, return fire," Admiral Kane commanded. The response was devastating. Human weapons technology had advanced far beyond what the Zephyrians expected. Each human ship carried enough firepower to destroy 3 alien vessels. Captain Neil Phillips watched from the TFS Retribution as his guns tore through the enemy cruisers. "Target the engines and weapons systems. We want prisoners for questioning." The battle lasted only minutes. 2 Zephyrian ships were destroyed, and the third was crippled and drifting. General Marcus Stone led a boarding party to capture survivors. The Zephyrian prisoners were shocked at how quickly they had been defeated. "Impossible," one of them hissed. "Our weapons are superior. Our ships are faster." "Your weapons are 50 years behind ours," General Stone informed him. "Your ships are slower than our cargo vessels, and your tactics are predictable." Under questioning, the prisoners revealed the location of Zephyrian military bases and the identity of commanders involved in the New Haven attack. Warcast leader Essiska Thrax had planned and led the massacre personally. Admiral Kane broadcast another message throughout Zephyrian space. "This is Admiral Kane of the Terran Federation. We have defeated your first ships with ease. We seek only those responsible for the New Haven genocide. Surrender Warcast leader Essiska Thrax and his forces, and the rest of your people will be spared." The Zephyrian High Command's response came 12 hours later. "Humans are a disease that spreads across the galaxy. We will eliminate you before you infect more star systems. All Zephyrian forces are mobilized for total war." "They've made their choice," Admiral Kane said grimly. "All ships, we begin systematic operations against military targets. Rules of engagement. Avoid civilian casualties when possible, but our priority is finding those responsible for New Haven." The human fleet split into task forces and began hunting through Zephyrian territory. They found the aliens had many military outposts, but poor coordination between them. Captain Susan Wright led the first major assault against a Zephyrian naval base orbiting the planet Zetha Prime. 50 alien ships defended the facility, confident in their numerical advantage. They learned too late that numbers meant nothing against superior technology. The TFS Vengeance alone could outfight 5 Zephyrian vessels. Its energy shields deflected their best weapons, while its plasma cannons cut through their armor like paper. The artificial intelligence systems predicted enemy movements perfectly, allowing human gunners to hit targets the aliens thought impossible. "This is Captain Wright to all Zephyrian commanders," she broadcast after destroying half their fleet. "Surrender now, and your crews will be treated according to human military law. Continue fighting, and you will all die." Most of the alien ships kept attacking until they were destroyed. Only 3 commanders chose to surrender. Captain Wright treated the prisoners well, providing medical care for their wounded and decent food for their healthy troops. The Zephyrian prisoners could not understand this mercy. "Why do you not execute us?" one asked. "We would kill your captured warriors immediately." "Because we're not you," Captain Wright replied. "Humans fight wars, but we don't massacre prisoners." Similar battles played out across Zephyrian space. Each engagement ended the same way. Human technology and training proved overwhelmingly superior. The aliens had become lazy and overconfident during centuries of easy conquests. Captain Neil Phillips captured an entire Zephyrian supply depot with minimal casualties. General Stone's Marines stormed 3 heavily defended planets and took them in days rather than months. Every victory brought the humans closer to their primary targets. But Warcast leader Essiska Thrax remained elusive. Intelligence reports placed him at different locations across Zephyrian space, always moving, always avoiding direct confrontation. "He's not stupid," Admiral Kane observed during a strategy meeting. "He knows we're hunting him specifically. He's trying to draw us deeper into their territory." "It might be a trap," Captain Wright suggested. "Probably. But we keep going anyway. We didn't come here to conquer their space. We came for justice." The human fleet pressed deeper into alien territory, following leads and chasing rumors. They liberated 3 more star systems, always offering the same terms: surrender those responsible for New Haven, and the rest would be spared. Most Zephyrian commanders chose to fight and die rather than surrender. Their honor code would not allow submission to species they considered inferior. Dr. Alan Foster monitored the campaign from his experimental ship. The stellar collapse device remained in its sealed container, unused but ready. He hoped it would stay that way. "Admiral," he radioed to the TFS Justice, "I'm detecting massive ship movements in the Vega system. It looks like they're concentrating. Their entire remaining fleet there." Admiral Kane studied the sensor readings. Over 200 Zephyrian warships were gathering around their home worlds. Every ship they had left, plus civilian vessels converted for military use. They're making their final stand, she realized. Thrax is probably there too. It could be their biggest trap yet, Commander Lisa Park warned from her position with the support fleet. They might have weapons we haven't seen yet. Admiral Kane considered this. The smart tactical choice would be to wait for reinforcements from Earth. But the longer they delayed, the more time the aliens had to prepare defenses or escape to other star systems. "We go in," she decided. "Alert all ships. We jump to Vega in 6 hours." As the human fleet prepared for its final battle, Admiral Kane thought about the New Haven survivors now safe on Earth. Jake Morrison had asked to come with the fleet, but she had refused. He had suffered enough. Pete Henderson and his family were living in a refugee settlement, trying to rebuild their lives. Lisa Henderson had started teaching again. Amy and Beth were slowly learning to speak once more. Their baby son would grow up never knowing the peaceful world where he was born. Those people deserved justice. The 50,000 who died deserved to be avenged. And the galaxy needed to learn that humanity would not tolerate genocide against its people. "All ships report ready for jump," Captain Wright announced. "Take us to Vega," Admiral Kane ordered. Yes, human fleet disappeared into hyperspace, carrying with it the promise of justice and the threat of total annihilation. The Zephyrians had chosen total war over surrender. Now they would face the full might of the human race. In the Vega system, Warcast leader Thrax watched the approaching human ships on his tactical displays. He had gathered every vessel his people possessed, every weapon they had built, every warrior willing to fight. "The mammals think they can defeat us in our own home," he told his commanders. "We will show them the true meaning of Zephyrian power." But deep in his reptilian heart, Thrax felt something he had never experienced before in battle: doubt. The humans had destroyed every force sent against them with seemingly effortless ease. Perhaps the soft mammals were not as weak as they appeared. The final battle was about to begin. 2 weeks passed before Earth learned what happened to New Haven Colony. A damaged probe finally limped into the Sol system, carrying the last transmission from Jake Morrison. Admiral Patricia Kane sat in the command center of Terran Defense Headquarters, watching the horrible recording play on her screen. She had seen war before. She had commanded ships in battles against pirates and rebels, but she had never seen anything like this. The probe's cameras had captured everything: alien ships appearing in peaceful skies, plasma beams destroying homes and schools, lizard-like creatures hunting human families through burning streets. "Play it again," Admiral Kane said quietly. Her aide, Commander Lisa Park, hesitated. "Ma'am, you've seen it 12 times already." "Play it again." The recording showed a Zephyrian soldier cornering a human child behind a destroyed hovercar. The child could not have been more than 8 years old. The alien raised its weapon and fired without hesitation. Admiral Kane closed her eyes, but she could still hear Jake Morrison's final transmission. "Remember us. Remember that we trusted them, and they murdered us all." "Get me the president," Admiral Kane said. Within an hour, President William Hayes sat across from Admiral Kane in the secure briefing room. With them were Secretary of Defense Nancy Roberts, Intelligence Director Chris Barnes, and Dr. Alan Foster from the Weapons Development Division. "How many survived?" President Hayes asked. "We're not sure," Admiral Kane replied. "The probe detected some life signs in remote areas before it left the system. Maybe 200 people out of 50,000. President Hayes stared at the table. 99% casualty rate. "It was not a battle," Secretary Roberts said grimly. "It was an extermination. They killed civilians, children, wounded people in hospitals. This was genocide." Intelligence Director Barnes opened his file. We've analyzed the alien transmissions. They call themselves Zephyrians. They come from the Vega system, about 25 light-years away. Based on their communications, they have a militaristic society organized around conquest. What do we know about their capabilities? The President asked. Their weapons technology appears roughly equivalent to ours, Admiral Kane said. But they have numerical superiority. Intelligence estimates they have at least 300 warships. And we have 437 ships of the line, plus support vessels. Dr. Alan Foster had been quiet during the meeting. Now he spoke up. Mr. President, there is something else you need to know. Something classified at the highest levels. President Hayes nodded. Go ahead. For the past 30 years, we have been developing a weapons system called the Stellar Collapse Device. It was originally conceived as a deterrent against possible alien threats. What does it do? Dr. Foster hesitated. It can destabilize a star's fusion process, cause it to go supernova in a controlled manner. The room went silent. Secretary Roberts was the first to speak. You can destroy entire solar systems? In theory, yes. We've run computer simulations but never tested it on an actual star. President Hayes stood and walked to the window. Outside, Earth looked peaceful and safe. But somewhere in space, an alien species had just demonstrated they were willing to commit genocide against humans. Admiral Kane, what are our options? We can try diplomacy, send a message demanding they surrender those responsible and pay compensation for the massacre. Will that work? Admiral Kane's expression was grim. Based on what we've learned about their society, probably not. They see humans as inferior. They likely view the New Haven massacre as pest control, not a war crime. What's the alternative? Total war. We mobilize every ship, every weapon, every soldier we have. We hunt down everyone responsible for New Haven and make them pay. President. Hayes was quiet for a long moment. Then he turned back to the group. 50,000 innocent people were murdered in their sleep. Children, families, farmers who never hurt anyone. These aliens came claiming they wanted peace, then they slaughtered defenseless civilians. The president's voice grew harder. They want to see how humans respond to genocide? Let's show them. 3 months later, the largest fleet in human history, assembled in Earth orbit, 500 warships, including the massive dreadnoughts TFS Vengeance and TFS Retribution. Captain Susan Wright commanded the Vengeance, while Captain Neil Phillips led the Retribution. Admiral Kane stood on the bridge of her flagship, the TFS Justice, and looked out at the assembled fleet. Every ship was equipped with humanity's most advanced technology. Energy shields, plasma weapons, quantum computers, artificial intelligence systems. All ships, this is Admiral Kane. In 6 hours, we depart for the Vega system. Our mission is simple. Find those responsible for the New Haven. Massacre and bring them to justice. If they surrender, they will face trial for genocide. If they resist, they will be destroyed. General Marcus Stone commanded the fleet's ground forces, 50,000 Marines trained in zero-gravity combat and urban warfare. They were ready to board enemy ships or assault alien worlds if necessary, but first, they had to rescue any survivors from New Haven. Commander Lisa Park led a small fleet of hospital ships and rescue vessels back to the Kepler 442 system. What they found broke her heart. New Haven Colony was gone. Where 50,000 people once lived, there was only ash and twisted metal. The beautiful farms were burned fields. The schools were rubble. The hospital was a crater. But life signs appeared on her scanners. Human life signs. The first survivors they found were hiding in a cave system 20 kilometers from the colony ruins. Jake Morrison emerged first, thin and scared but alive. Behind him came 18 other people, including Dr. Kate Sullivan. We heard your ships, Jake said, tears running down his face. We thought the aliens had come back to finish us off. You're safe now, Commander Park told him. Earth sent us to find you. The rescue took 3 days. They found survivors scattered across the continent. Pete Henderson and his family had survived in their storm shelter, living on stored food and rainwater. Lisa Henderson still held her baby son, now 3 months old. Amy and Beth had not spoken since the attack, but they were alive. In total, 163 people had survived the massacre, out of 50,000. Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the rescue ship and watched New Haven's sun grow distant behind them. "Are you going after them?" he asked Commander Park. "Admiral Kane is already on her way to Vega with the largest fleet humanity has ever assembled. Will it be enough?" Commander Park looked at him seriously. "Jake, you need to understand something. What happened to New Haven changed everything. Earth is not sending a rescue mission or a police force. We're sending an army. What if the aliens have more ships than we thought? Then we'll build more ships. What if they have allies? Then we'll fight them too. What if they hide on distant worlds? Then we'll search every planet in their space until we find them." Jake nodded slowly. "And if they try to surrender?" "That depends on them. If they hand over everyone responsible for New Haven and submit to Federation justice, they might survive as a species. If they keep fighting..." Commander Park's voice grew cold. "Then they will learn why humans have spent 1,000 years perfecting the art of war." News of the New Haven massacre spread across Earth like wildfire. For the first time in human history, an alien species had made contact. And their first act was genocide against human civilians. Protests filled the streets demanding justice. Families of the colonists wept on news broadcasts. Military recruitment centers saw lines of volunteers stretching for blocks. But the strongest reaction came from the government itself. President Hayes appeared on global television and spoke directly to the human race. "Citizens of Earth, 3 months ago we learned we are not alone in the universe. An alien species called the Zephyrians made contact with our colony at New Haven. They claimed they wanted peace and trade. Instead, they committed the worst massacre in human history. 50,000 innocent people were murdered. Men, women, children, elderly, sick, wounded. No one was spared. The aliens killed them all without mercy. Today our fleet departs for the Zephyrian home system. Our mission is justice for the victims of New Haven. We go not as conquerors, but as the defenders of innocent life." To any aliens who might be listening to this broadcast, humanity seeks peace with all intelligent species. But if you choose to make war on our civilians, if you choose to murder our children, then you will face the full might of the human race. We are no longer the species that sent out peaceful exploration ships. We are the species that will cross the galaxy to avenge genocide. We are the species that will not rest until justice is done. To the survivors of New Haven, your families, your friends, your peaceful world will be remembered forever, and they will be avenged. The transmission ended, and Earth's greatest fleet began its journey toward Vega. Dr. Alan Foster's experimental ship, the TFS Prometheus, traveled with them. In its cargo hold sat humanity's most terrible weapon, the stellar collapse device. Admiral Kane prayed they would not need to use it, but if the aliens refused to surrender, if they chose total war over justice, then she was prepared to show them the consequences of genocide. The Zephyrians had destroyed one human world. If necessary, humanity would destroy their entire star system. The hunt for justice was about to begin. Jake Morrison stood on the hill overlooking New Haven Colony and smiled. The morning sun painted the green fields gold. 15 years ago, this planet was nothing but rocks and dust. Now it was home to 50,000 humans. The colony spread. Out below him, like a small city. White houses dotted the landscape between farms and gardens. Children ran through the streets on their way to school. Workers headed to the factories and labs. It looked peaceful and happy. Jake was the colony administrator. That meant he was in charge of making sure everything ran well. It was not an easy job, but he loved it. These people had left Earth to build something new. They trusted him to help them succeed. His radio buzzed. "Jake, are you there?" It was Danny Clark, the chief engineer. "I'm here, Danny. What's going on?" "The new water treatment plant is working great. We're producing 20% more clean water than last month." "Good news," Jake said. "Any problems?" "Nothing serious. Just some minor repairs on the eastern power grid. I'll have it fixed by noon." Jake nodded and put the radio back on his belt. Danny was a good man. He kept the colony's machines running smoothly. Without him, they would still be drinking recycled water and living in darkness half the time. A hover car pulled up next to Jake. Dr. Kate Sullivan stepped out, carrying her medical bag. "Morning, Jake," she said. "I just came from the Henderson farm. Lisa had her baby last night." "That's wonderful news. Is everyone healthy?" "Perfect. A baby boy. That makes our population 50,001. Kate smiled. Pete and Lisa are very happy. Amy and Beth are excited to have a little brother. Jake had known the Henderson family since they arrived. Pete was one of the best farmers on the planet. His wife Lisa taught at the local school. Their twin daughters, Amy and Beth, were smart kids who always asked good questions. "I'll visit them later today," Jake said. "Send my congratulations." Kate got back in her hovercar and drove away. Jake watched her go. She was the colony's head doctor. She had saved many lives over the years. People trusted her completely. Jake started walking back toward the administration building. The streets were busy with morning traffic. Farmers drove trucks loaded with fresh vegetables. Factory workers rode bikes to their jobs. Store owners opened their shops for the day. At the market square, children played while their parents bought food and supplies. Jake waved to people. He knew. Mrs. Adams from the bakery, Mr. Johnson who ran the tool shop, the Peterson family who owned the largest farm in the Southern Valley. These were good people. They worked hard and cared about each other. They had built something special. On this distant world, Jake's radio buzzed again. This time it was Ryan Bell, the communications officer. "Jake, you need to come to the comms center right away." "What's wrong? You sound worried." "We're receiving a signal from outside the system. It's not human." Jake stopped walking. In 15 years, they had never detected any alien signals. Earth had been searching for other intelligent life for centuries. Most scientists thought humans were alone in the galaxy. "Are you sure it's not from Earth?" Jake asked. "Positive. The signal is coming from the direction of Vega. And Jake, it's directed at us specifically. They know we're here." Jake felt his heart beat faster. First contact with an alien species. This could be the most important moment in human history. "I'm on my way," he said. The communications center was in the heart of the colony. Jake ran the last few blocks. When he arrived, he found Ryan staring at his screens with wide eyes. "What do they want?" Jake asked. "They're asking for permission to enter our system. They say they want to talk about trade and cooperation." Jake looked at the strange symbols on the screen. "Alien writing. Proof that humans were not alone. Can you understand what they're saying? They're using simple mathematics and basic pictures to communicate. Look here." Ryan pointed to the screen. "They show their ships. They show our planet. They show symbols that seem to mean peace and trade." "How many ships?" "The signal mentions a small diplomatic fleet. Maybe 5 or 6 vessels." Jake thought carefully. This was too big a decision for him alone, but Earth was 47 light years away. Any message would take 47 years to reach home and 47 years for a reply to come back. "Send a message back," Jake said. "Tell them they can enter the system, but tell them to approach slowly and stay away from the planet until we can arrange proper contact." Ryan typed the message and sent it toward the stars. "How long until they arrive?" Jake asked. "If they're coming from Vega, probably 3 days." Jake nodded. 3 days to prepare for humanity's first meeting with aliens. He needed to inform the colony leaders. They needed to set up proper security. Most importantly, they needed to stay calm and not panic the people. "Ryan, keep monitoring all frequencies, record everything, and keep this quiet for now. I want to talk to the council before we make any announcements." "Understood." Jake left the communications center with his mind racing. Aliens were coming to New Haven. They claimed to want peace and trade. This could be wonderful news for humanity. But something felt wrong. Why would aliens travel so far just to trade with one small colony? Why not contact Earth directly? Why come to a farming settlement on the edge of known space? Jake pushed his doubts away. Maybe the aliens were just curious about human expansion. Maybe they wanted to start small before making contact with Earth's billions of people. He looked up at the blue sky. Somewhere out there, alien ships were heading toward their peaceful world. In 3 days, everything would change. Jake just hoped it would change for the better. Jake Morrison stood on the hill overlooking New Haven Colony and smiled. The morning sun painted the green fields gold. 15 years ago, this planet was nothing but rocks and dust. Now it was home to 50,000 humans. The colony spread. Out below him, like a small city. White houses dotted the landscape between farms and gardens. Children ran through the streets on their way to school. Workers headed to the factories and labs. It looked peaceful and happy. Jake was the colony administrator. That meant he was in charge of making sure everything ran well. It was not an easy job, but he loved it. These people had left Earth to build something new. They trusted him to help them succeed. His radio buzzed. "Jake, are you there?" It was Danny Clark, the chief engineer. "I'm here, Danny. What's going on?" "The new water treatment plant is working great. We're producing 20% more clean water than last month." "Good news," Jake said. "Any problems?" "Nothing serious. Just some minor repairs on the eastern power grid. I'll have it fixed by noon." Jake nodded and put the radio back on his belt. Danny was a good man. He kept the colony's machines running smoothly. Without him, they would still be drinking recycled water and living in darkness half the time. A hover car pulled up next to Jake. Dr. Kate Sullivan stepped out, carrying her medical bag. "Morning, Jake," she said. "I just came from the Henderson farm. Lisa had her baby last night." "That's wonderful news. Is everyone healthy?" "Perfect. A baby boy. That makes our population 50,001. Kate smiled. "Pete and Lisa are very happy. Amy and Beth are excited to have a little brother." Jake had known the Henderson family since they arrived. Pete was one of the best farmers on the planet. His wife Lisa taught at the local school. Their twin daughters, Amy and Beth, were smart kids who always asked good questions. "I'll visit them later today," Jake said. "Send my congratulations." Kate got back in her hover car and drove away. Jake watched her go. She was the colony's head doctor. She had saved many lives over the years. People trusted her completely. Jake started walking back toward the administration building. The streets were busy with morning traffic. Farmers drove trucks loaded with fresh vegetables. Factory workers rode bikes to their jobs. Store owners opened their shops for the day. At the market square, children played while their parents bought food and supplies. Jake waved to people. He knew. Mrs. Adams from the bakery, Mr. Johnson, who ran the tool shop, the Peterson family, who owned the largest farm in the Southern Valley. These were good people. They worked hard and cared about each other. They had built something special. On this distant world, Jake's radio buzzed again. This time it was Ryan Bell, the communications officer. "Jake, you need to come to the comms center right away." "What's wrong? You sound worried." "We're receiving a signal from outside the system. It's not human." Jake stopped walking. In 15 years, they had never detected any alien signals. Earth had been searching for other intelligent life for centuries. Most scientists thought humans were alone in the galaxy. "Are you sure it's not from Earth?" Jake asked. "Positive. The signal is coming from the direction of Vega. And Jake, it's directed at us specifically. They know we're here." Jake felt his heart beat faster. First contact with an alien species. This could be the most important moment in human history. "I'm on my way," he said. The communications center was in the heart of the colony. Jake ran the last few blocks. When he arrived, he found Ryan staring at his screens with wide eyes. "What do they want?" Jake asked. "They're asking for permission to enter our system. They say they want to talk about trade and cooperation." Jake looked at the strange symbols on the screen. "Alien writing. Proof that humans were not alone. Can you understand what they're saying? They're using simple mathematics and basic pictures to communicate. Look here." Ryan pointed to the screen. "They show their ships. They show our planet. They show symbols that seem to mean peace and trade." "How many ships?" "The signal mentions a small diplomatic fleet. Maybe 5 or 6 vessels." Jake thought carefully. This was too big a decision for him alone, but Earth was 47 light years away. Any message would take 47 years to reach home and 47 years for a reply to come back. "Send a message back," Jake said. "Tell them they can enter the system, but tell them to approach slowly and stay away from the planet until we can arrange proper contact." Ryan typed the message and sent it toward the stars. "How long until they arrive?" Jake asked. "If they're coming from Vega, probably 3 days." Jake nodded. 3 days to prepare for humanity's first meeting with aliens. He needed to inform the colony leaders. They needed to set up proper security. Most importantly, they needed to stay calm and not panic the people. "Ryan, keep monitoring all frequencies, record everything, and keep this quiet for now. I want to talk to the council before we make any announcements." "Understood." Jake left the communications center with his mind racing. Aliens were coming to New Haven. They claimed to want peace and trade. This could be wonderful news for humanity. But something felt wrong. Why would aliens travel so far just to trade with one small colony? Why not contact Earth directly? Why come to a farming settlement on the edge of known space? Jake pushed his doubts away. Maybe the aliens were just curious about human expansion. Maybe they wanted to start small before making contact with Earth's billions of people. He looked up at the blue sky. Somewhere out there, alien ships were heading toward their peaceful world. In 3 days, everything would change. Jake just hoped it would change for the better.